dragi Gorane, Suzan Grifit, koja živi u Kulu, to su južni obronci Himalaja, a severna Indija. To je jedna divna, mala dolina koja je u stvari stalno u nekoj vrsti proleća, jer od himalajskih glečera se odslikava sunce. Ona je glasnica Šambala. Pre nego što smo mi išli u Indiju, na Vivekananda Tesla konferenciju o energiji, ona je došla, tako smo se upoznali. Sada treba oni iz Indije da dođu, da izaberu mesto za Šivin hram, opet je došla Suzan Grifit. I mi smo napravili ovde u Teslaviziji, zahvaljujući...
Tesla, radio-televizija Tesla, da, Tesla.
Radio-televizija.
Teslavizija. Danas je datum, danas je 22. oktobar.
22. oktobar 2025. godine. Isto tako, to je prelazak između Škorpiona i Strelca, a moram odnosno Strelac je posle Škorpiona, posle 22. novembra, ali stalno je sadašnjost, pa ja mešam vremena, Labatov rođendan. Također ćemo i to da proslavimo. Sad, dragi prijatelji, sad ćete da vidite ko je sve došao u goste.
Da se predstave, evo. Možete da se predstavite kratko.
Danijela Spasić, poštovac iz Beograda, poštovac rada i dela gospodina profesora
Suzan Grifit.
I Suzan Grifit.
Dobro.
Također Igor Bošković, drago mi je.
Dobro, da zabeležimo. Idemo redom. Samo da se predstavite, molim vas da se predstavite pojedinačno.
Zorice, dve reči.
Dobar dan.
Sjajno.
Ja sam Zorica Biljić iz Hercegovine. Nina Herceg, učitelj transcendentalne meditacije.
Odlično.
Momir Pajić, pisac i psiholog.
Tatjana Jevđić, holistički terapeut.
Vesna Ostojić, penzionerka, željna novih znanja.
Milenka Jovanović, s kojom se bavim informacijalnom medicinom.
Verica Mićunović, ljubitelj visokih frekvencija.
Lucija Šelaković, Labat iz Novog Sada.
Ja sam Dragan Marinković, student.
Milenko.
Ok. Milenko Đurić. Vladimir Labat, Krovljev. Bajer.
Goran Bajanović. Gogi. Teslijana. Branje Šinović i Brakadar.
And our Suzan Grifit, from India, from London, from Chicago, from the Galactic Federation.
Bravo. Jovo. Ok. Dobro.
Šta je? Pošto tu ćemo sad da unesemo stolice, performans je biti u studiju, pa ćemo čak lagano kako unosimo stolice, tako i sa vama tu se...
Dobro.
So, Suzan Grifit is the messenger of Shambhala. That is the thing. First time she was here to announce that we are going to build a Shiva temple in eastern Serbia with a great view to Mountain Ertan, which is natural pyramid, as you know, with a great power. That is one thing. The second time she is now here, before the great priests from India will come to choose the land and to pray for the building of the temple and the success of the project. So it's a very important person in a planetary sense. No, I really mean so, because she actually she announces completely new civilization, which is of Teslian kind and which is be in accordance, or let's say in accordance with heaven, or even better, in harmony with the cosmical order. Thank you so much for coming. You're very welcome.
Let's just get the record straight. I deeply respect your words, Professor Abramovich, but I think you are like taking me about 20,000 times notches above where I am actually talking about. But I am going to present you today something which is definitely of a very different type. It's an installation that has come out of 20 years of work, where piece by piece by piece by piece I have been putting together the puzzle. The puzzle has been coming together, has been revealing itself, and finally, in a aha moment that happened in 2020, the magician's jewel was born. But not the magician's jewel that you're going to see tonight. It was a very simplified version of the magician's jewel, where I discovered that the key components of all 8 photo collage art pictures that I had been making over the last 20 years, actually in that time it was 15 years till 2020, were components of a larger machine. So here, for example, are 2 of my latter photo collage art pictures, just to give you an example of what a photo collage art picture is. So here you see pretty pictures on the screen, but this, for example, in reality is 6 foot wide in diameter. So on this wall it would be almost that section of the wall. Crystal of Time, 7.5 feet by 2 and a bit feet. Now, why would I make these pictures? What's the purpose? Why? I mean, like, did they just come into my head and I just lay them down? So what you see here is plyboard covered with colored cloth. On top of it is hard cardboard covered with cloth, different colors of cloth, and then a theme of photographs on top. And I've come to call this genre photo collage art. But let me come back to my question. Why would I make something like this? Just because, you know, I want to have fun? Well, yes and no, because it was in 2016 when I fortuitously met Samuel Monagich at a conference in South India. And, you know, we ended up at the same breakfast table. Somebody asked me the question, what are you doing these days? And I said, oh, I've just completed a movie, artistic documentary about the lamas in Nepal, Tibetan lamas in Nepal. And I embedded a pyramid in it, the shape of a pyramid. Sam's ears went when he heard the word pyramid. He said, what do you mean you embedded the shape of a pyramid in your movie about the Tibetan lamas in Nepal? I don't get it. He said, give me the link to your movie. So I gave him the link, and then the conversation went on. Sam left at some point and the conversation at the breakfast table went on. He comes back after some time, about an hour, and he says to me, I've just watched your movie. I mean, Sam doesn't waste time, you know. Sam is like on the button. And he says, I want you to come to Bosnia and make me a movie like that in Bosnia. So the next year I was in Bosnia. From 2017 until last year, I was coming to Bosnia every year except the time when COVID messed everything up for us. And I made this picture, The Crystal of Time, in order to capture and hold the information that I discovered through my research in Bosnia, at the Bosnian pyramids, talking to people. What are the conversations going on about? People are talking about electromagnetic energy converting to scalar waves, longitudinal, Fibonacci spirals, there's like equilateral triangle in the center, then there's this like connection between the different pyramids, the different shapes, then there's like something going on at a tumulus and there's something going on at another place, and I studied the layout, the geometry, and so it went on. And I embedded all of this information into this picture, The Crystal of Time. I don't know why I called it The Crystal of Time, it just happened like that. And then I tried to make the movie. So I took a load of footage of Bosnia and I tried to make the movie. And what I wanted to do was to use this picture to stretch it along the timeline and to use the symbols of this picture and embed it into the timeline of the movie. So I tried to do that, and I tried to make the movie, and I tried this way, I tried that way, it just didn't come. Then I had a good look at this picture, and I thought maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's something going on here that I haven't understood yet. And I started focusing in on the center. Something is going on in this center that needs to be discovered before I can make this movie. This was what was going on in my mind. And due to that, I made this. So the diamond lens doorway to infinity is what actually fits here in the center. Now, the rationale behind this crystal of time is two electromagnetic waves meeting at the center and creating a toroidal field that converts energy into a longitudinal wave. Now, I'm very humbled to be in the in the same room as Goran Marjanovic, who is, I know, a very, very, very high electrical engineer, and to be saying words like this and to be talking like this is a little above my pay grade. So anyway, it was my idea that this must be the way that things happen. You put two electromagnetic waves and they converge in the center and they can become a longitudinal wave through driving it through certain shapes and down, creating vortices and all the rest of it. So yes, diamond lens doorway to infinity sits in the center of the crystal of time. Diamond lens doorway to infinity, if we're going to go off on a tangent here, which I'm not, because I know we're not having hours and hours of lecture here, but I would like to add another point here, because Jose Arguelles, who some of you may have studied or know, talked about the time factor 1260, and 1260 is what we live, is the time consciousness that we live in today. From Babylonian times, the 1260 is the way that we structure our time. So 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, like this, 12 months of the year, 12 hours in before noon, 12 hours after noon, etc., etc. And this distorts our consciousness. We are not, as human beings, we are not happy with this consciousness. It doesn't resonate well with us. This is why we can't have a society that runs smoothly, because we ourselves are messed up just by our time structure. We have to keep time in a structure that does not fit our consciousness. So then what happened? I thought I was done. I thought once I had those two pictures, I laid out the movie and I made the Bosnia movie. It was done. But then came COVID. I couldn't get to Bosnia to show it. So time was going by and another picture started popping into my mind. This one, the Tunnel Vision Eye of Eternity. Now, this is something of a different sort. I went to South America twice in order to make this picture. And I ended up, right at the very last minute before I went to show, make the premiere of this film at the Bosnian pyramids last year, June 2024, last minute, I added in a factor in here because I realized, having connected with the work of Jose Arguelles, that this is actually a perfect example. Well, perfect is a bit of a big word, but it's a good example of 1320 time consciousness. And then I took it a step further, so I embedded what I have here. You can't see very well, but there are 13 silver concentric circles which are emanating at the cube root of increments of the cube root of pi, with every waveform is emitting in increments of the cube root of pi, something that I learned from a very great engineer of the I think he even passed away even in the 1980s, a fellow called Les Brown, who made a beautiful documentary called The Physics of Crystals. Very, very nice. And so I embedded, the last thing I did with the Bosnian movie was to embed this into the movie. So in time rhythm, because I had kept the time of the crystal of time, of the doorway, diamond lens doorway to infinity, and this, there's a sort of time conversion going on in the frequency of the movie. So Professor Abramovic and Goran Marjanovic will recognize this model that I took this around the world. My husband made it for me. He said, when you're going out to do all these presentations, you need something tangible to show people. So using very basic household materials, wood and wire, and this is hard cardboard, and bits of metal and other things. He made this model for me so that I could take it around and show people what I was envisaging. So it's now a previous model. It was a whole suitcase worth of goods to travel around the world with. So now we come on to the I wanted to give you a little bit of background. I know some of you do know my work and you have seen it before, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but I did want to fill some people in on where this magician's jewel came from. So I've shown you 3 of my photo collage art pictures, but there are 5 more before that, and in a sense the 5 before those 3 were more focused on the spiritual, like capturing the spiritual meaning from the Tibetan Buddhist Vajrayana path, which I was studying very deeply with the lamas in Nepal and India, and at that time, and so I'd embedded that information into the first 5 pictures. Each of the key symbols from those 5 pictures are inside the magician's jewel. And then the 3 pictures I made in Bosnia, which are more sciencey orientated. Now this was a new language for me, so it took me a while to get up to speed. I'm still struggling with the science part of it, but I'm having a lot of help from other people, so I can manage to get through that, I hope. Anyway, now we come on to the evolution of the next rendition of the magician's jewel. So the 2 fundamental parts of the magician's jewel. One, we have the body, the physical body. Just like us, we have a physical human body. And this body is a device. The structure of this installation is also a working instrumental device. It's going to have an effect on the environment. What does a device mean? It's in the sense that I'm seeing it. It's going to have an effect on the environment. It's going to be something that human consciousness can work with. It's going to be something that human movement can work with. There are a lot of parts to this, and I'll go into more detail with that in a minute. And then secondly, the body has to be filled with consciousness. And so as an art installation, this is also going to be describing the journey through the magician's jewel, through the installation, which describes the process of existence according to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is a fantastic explanation of how our consciousness actually functions. I know a lot of people struggle with the Tibetan Book of the Dead because there's a lot of symbology, and I do sympathize, because if you have not studied the path of Vajrayana in great detail, and you know that the color red means this, and that hand implement in the hand of the deity means that, and the face direction this and the face direction that, they all have different symbolic meanings. So I do sympathize, but what I'm doing in this installation is going to be carrying or taking participants through the entire structure in a very nice, organized way, using virtual reality, augmented reality to display images to them that have a meaning at that point in the instance. Think there's the structure, which is the body, and that's the device that works. It's a working mechanism, not just a pretty picture. And then there's the consciousness that we put into it, which is this pathway of the process of existence according to the Tibetan Book of the Dead. So now let's look down as a bird's eye onto the structure. Something new in this rendition of the Magician's Jewel is the base, which I have made as the same shape here, which, for want of a better word, is the chacana of the South American cross. But it took me 2 journeys to South America, to Bolivia and to Peru, twice on separate journeys, And then coming back to my Himalayan valley where I have lived for 15 years, to realize that this shape, which I thought was purely South American, I went to the other side of the world to study it, was on the caps, on the shawls, and on the clothes of the people in my valley. What the heck? I didn't notice it before. And then I started seeing that this was the shape underneath the temples, the Hindu temples, not only the Hindu temples, also the Tibetan Buddhist temples as well. Why? Because this shape opens a portal. So there it is at my base. I say at my base, I mean at the base. Now, the biggest question that came out of the last set of talks, workshops, and conferences and things that I gave on the previous iteration of the Magician's Jewel, that model that you saw, one of the biggest questions, and every single conference I went to, somebody would ask me, but what is like the angle or the shape of this? Is this how it's going to look? And I'm like, no, please, this is just a model. So a huge question mark hanging over this whole project was the angle, the base angle of the pyramid at the base. And I looked at many different angles of very many different things. The Giza Plateau, then the Great Pyramid, 51.2, and then there were like other. And then I came across a piece of work by a fellow called Charlie Zeiss, who had also been following other experts on this. And I discovered that this angle of 76.345, very specific angle, was an angle that had been used across the world in religious structures, in community buildings. You'll find it in the steeples of the churches of Western Europe, you'll find it in the Hindu temples of India, you'll find it in Far East Asia, in the temples, it's everywhere, it pops up everywhere once you start looking for it. 76.345 in nature, here we have the way that the water, the vortex of the water, the light, bending of light in our DNA, in the tornado, in the free energy devices that have been created, and first of all, Nikola Tesla's
Oh, you know that?
because it's measured. You measure the angle.
Oh, you measure from the photo?
Yeah, it's the base angle.
It may not necessarily be correct, right?
Huh?
May not necessarily be exactly correct.
Well, you can go and measure it. Welcome. So the next question was, now I'm like, okay, I have got my angle, and I'm very happy I have my angle. Well, let's put it this way, anything can change at any time. I have an angle that I'm going to work with. So 76.345, you can see it's really steep. Before my model was more like that, now it's like suddenly come long and thin. My next question is, am I going to have the two pyramids, because there were already two pyramids in the previous model, one inside the other, that gives a very good amplification. Am I going to have them with the four corners in the same position, so one corner here, one corner here, or am I going to rotate 90 degrees? What am I going to do?
Rotate.
Rotate.
Yeah.
Why am I going to rotate?
It's more
Everything rotates.
Rotational symmetry opens a portal.
Yes.
So by creating this base, just a second. By creating this rotational symmetry at the base, here you can see, I mean this is not the rotational, but you see the base here. I've made this, you can see here. No, I have to give you another picture for that. It's not this one. You can see now there's an octahedron, octagon at the base. So we've got the rotational symmetry here. What I am, it became at some point, again, the penny dropped, that this was not such a big, this shouldn't be such a big question mark for me, and I shouldn't be stressing so much over it, because all I needed to do was to always go back to my picture, and all the answers are in here. I even found 76.345 angles I had already drawn into this picture. Quite by chance. No protractor, nothing. I had made this angle, this is a 76.345. So that nailed the question nailed the answer on that question. And then for the base, do I rotate it? Well, I've got my four sides here, and then I've got this cross here, so I wanted to create this rotational symmetry. Also because it will open a portal. Now you will see that the outside circle, then this pattern of the square, then there's another square here which is white line, so it's difficult for you to see. So that also shows this same rotational symmetry here. Then on the inside, the circle, and again square and square. I've got the square and the square, and then another circle in the center, another circle in the center. So you see, once I got it that I'd already written everything into my pictures, even the axis of the magician's jewel is also completely referring to the crystal of time. And the diamond lens doorway to infinity. I'm going to take you onto that in a minute. So you see, I'm trying to make a more definite and more precise structure. Before it was a model and it's like, it's something like that. Now we have base angles. Now we have the positioning of the pyramids. And next, another reason for 76.345 is one of the attributes of 76.345 is if you place a sphere in the base, so the touching the sides of the pyramid, and then you put the sphere on top, that diameter compared to that diameter will be in golden ratio proportion, so 1.618 less than this one. And this is 1.618 less than this one, and this one likewise, all the way to the top. So there's a very good reason why the 76.345 is being used, because this creates a beautiful flow of energy, of growth energy throughout the interior of the structure. Remember, I'm trying to make each part of the magician's jewel useful. It should be useful, not just putting things arbitrarily up because it looks pretty, but make it useful. Everything should be having a purpose and using a way that we can get the energy in and use more energy and create more energy and create a really good working device here. But I'm only talking about what's on top of the surface. We are also looking at what's below the surface, because we are going to create something that is on a sacred point. It should be on a sacred point, means where underground water crossings are found deep in the earth, where you have natural vortices coming up. Then we can bring this energy in through the structure and distribute it. I don't quite know why I really threw this slide in. It was just to show you some of my internal thinking that's going on. The platonic solids are all inside, all the platonic solids can be found inside the magician's jewel. The outer structure, by virtue of the mirror underneath, I haven't mentioned that yet, but there's a mirror at the base. The corners of the inner triangle sit on the mirror, and so there is a natural reflection and it creates an octahedron. then we have a double tetrahedron, then we have a cube, then we have an icosahedron together with the dodeca, so dodeca icosahedron, and then inside that, we don't stop there, inside the dodeca-icosahedron we have another icosahedron, and then we go backwards, cube, tetrahedron, and octahedron. So we have 9 platonic solids in mirror here. Not 5, but we have 9. Very important, this aspect of the mirror. It's very important. And this tetractys, of course, is much more than just showing the shapes. I mean, we can find the cube, we can find the tetrahedron, we can even find an icosahedron in here. You know, there's plenty of things we can find in here, and it goes on and on and on and on. You know, we can keep taking it further and further into the center. But this is also a way to describe universal harmonics, this tetractys. I won't go into that now because it's a long subject. It's not irrelevant, but it's long. Now the next thing that came up were the 3 magnitudes of the pyramid, something that I learned with, again through studying the work of this fellow Les Brown in the physics of crystals. And because I'm looking at bringing energy in from the base, from the ground, when you bring energy into the base of the pyramid, then it will reach a certain point where, what he calls the engine. This point here, which is found by dividing the side of the pyramid into 2, so in half, then with a set square, 90 degrees, you make a line into the center from that side and into the center, you will find your first point of magnitude. Now, why is that important? Because I want to use that space there. I want to put something in the pyramid at that space and amplify the energy there. So it should be an important part of the installation, should be at that point, right? So from here to here, it exponentially grows. So if that's 0, this is now 10. Sorry, that's not. If this is now exponentially 10 to the power of 2. At the second point of magnitude, what he calls the master of productivity, again, 10 to the power of 3. So now, at this point, we have already got into the second amplitude of the pyramid. Again, at this point, there's going to be a nucleus of energy, and I want to put something there in my pyramid that's a useful point in the pyramid that will be also working for me, giving me more energy. And then, of course, this is the third amplitude. So, beautiful way that the pyramid fills with energy, then it releases, and then it refills, and then it releases just with a natural source coming up from the ground. This is one way that you can garner more energy, is by positioning the points, the things in the place in the pyramid. You should put things at that point that are going to be amplifying the energy. So, I have to find my levels of magnitude. So I've got just a couple of villages away from me. In fact, there's a fellow who's a graphic design artist, and he helped me to make these images. And we found the first level of magnitude. It's a bit different from a squat pyramid like this. It's a pyramid which has a taller and thinner 76.345 angle. You'll find the first level of magnitude here, the second level of magnitude here, and the third, of course, is at the apex. So I want the center of my axis should be at the first level of magnitude. So that's going to work hard for me. That's where the energy is coming to, and by virtue of being at the first level of magnitude, it's going to have a bigger energetic flow here. But what I had to do, which was different to the first model of the magician's jewel, before the distance was equidistant between the center and the base. Now you've got a longer base and you've got a shorter top, because we had to incorporate this. The second level of magnitude falls here, which is at the top of the axis of this part of the axis. There's a little bit more of axis here, but this section is important, this part here. So these two spaces are going to work hard for me and give me more energy. Here you can see the crystal of time. So the central part, which is the diamond lens doorway to infinity, if you remember, that's here in the center. That's the dodecahedron. And then here you've got 4 crystals. These are pictures of which are representing crystals. And you've got 4 crystals and 4 crystals. But you see, the distance is shorter here than here. So this was a bit of a change, because before I was working with a mirror, at least in length, I was working with the same lengths. Now I've got more length here, less length here. What does this mean? Because also we've now got a taller and thinner pyramid with 76.345. It meant that if I want participants to walk around the chambers, by the time they get to here, you can't get a human being inside the space because it's too short. So how do we get over that problem? You know, I'm just going through the things that went through my mind at that time. How do we get through that problem? Anybody got a bright idea? We have to make the whole installation a lot taller.
The base should be wider.
Yeah, the base will be wider. So before I was like sort of tentatively saying, oh, I'm thinking about 90 feet. Now this structure has to be at least 120. At least.
Tesla Tower 176.
Yes, Tesla Tower 176. And in fact, it was when a fellow from one of my workshops, he sent me a video afterwards about the building of the tower in San Jose, which was just before the Eiffel Tower was built, and it was in fact the similar family from France that was involved in the San Jose Tower. And they were putting up this gigantic structure, something like 170, 180, I forget exactly how much it was. You know, I thought in the 1880s, if they can do something like this, then, you know, in the world we live in, we can easily do a tower of whatever height we want. So anyway, now I'm saying that this structure is at least 120 feet, just keeping it conservative for now, but we could always go a little higher. So these were the last very the last of the very first images that I made with the new graphic design, because of course there's a spiral that goes around that the participants go up. This is like going on the previously it was going on the exterior of the outer pyramid, but now for structural reasons and also for it makes it a little more practical, it now goes between the inner pyramid and the outer pyramid, so you've got the rotational symmetry. So you've got a way to also hold this this spiral in place. So initially, in fact, the dome happened because of several comments that I'm always listening to people. So careful what you say to me, because I might take it up and actually put it in the installation. One lady at a workshop had said, "Have you ever heard of the work of Buckminster Fuller?" I'm like, "Yeah, the geodesic domes, right?" And she's like, "Yes, this is something," because we were talking about how to counteract the problems of putting this outside and the elements. I mean, it's going to rain sometimes, it's going to be windy, it's going to, you know, like this. She said, "Have you thought of putting a dome on it?" And I said, "Well, I haven't, but it sounds like a good plan." And then I've been studying the Taoist stone medicine in order to understand about the crystals. And I attended live, very fortunate to attend live some classes with a fellow called Jeffrey Ewan, who is a 88th lineage holder of the Jade tradition of Taoist healing arts. He's a Taoist priest and a very brilliant, his knowledge is absolutely brilliant. And he came to see my model, which I put up in my hotel room. I asked him at a break, please will you come and have a look at this and just give me a little bit of advice on the crystals, because it's really it's a subject that, although I'm dabbling in, I'm not very expert in, and I need some help. And he came along and he said, you could use this, could be a transformer, this could be an amplifier, this could be a harmonizer, this could be da-da-da-da-da. You know, in 10-15 minutes he gave me a good rundown of an idea of where I could be heading with the crystals. And then he said, have you thought of putting a dome on the top of it? And he said, not only on the top, but also on the bottom. And I said, well, yes, this dome keeps repeating itself in various ways. It keeps coming back. So, you know, like I said, I'm one to listen to the voices that come from outside. So I thought, let's give it a go. At the very least, the dome can protect the structure from the elements. So I started with this. Then I thought, oh no, they're going to think I'm copying Tesla's tower. No, I don't want to be like, you know, accused of copying Tesla's tower. I'm not out to do that, and da-da-da-da-da. Then, beautiful. I came across this beautiful picture that was in a book by a fellow called Chris Dunn, who's an expert on the mechanical. He's a mechanical engineer and an expert on the Giza pyramids. And he was actually at the Global Pyramid Conference. I was with him a couple of weeks ago. And I bought his book. We didn't actually discuss this at the time, but then going through his book, I found this page with this lovely picture, which I'm borrowing from his book. Fulfilling the need to create a circuit, perhaps a dome could serve to radiate power into the atmosphere as proposed by Nikola Tesla in his vision for the wireless distribution of electricity. And he goes on to talk about harvesting electrons from, you know, angstrom movement of the igneous rock underneath the pyramid, and then it like releases these electrons that comes through the pyramid and all through all this whole power plant system, and then the dome can emit this these electrons into the environment and everything. So I'm gonna cap it there. I'm here with the dome right now, and it's going quite well. So dome I keep. So this is a side view. You wouldn't see this because this is above ground, but this is a sort of cross-section of the ground of how I am envisaging. You see how now the top of the looks like the Tesla tower, the top is identified, but the whole thing is covered. Now, why the egg shape? Because an egg shape is actually not ellipsoid. So this is a little bit incorrect still, but a proper egg has a shorter top and a larger base. And when you have two centers, which you have inside an egg, you have a dynamic going on between these two centers, which creates a lot of life force. Now, unfortunately, in the eggs that are harvested these days from chickens that are kept in battery farms and all the rest of it, you can hardly find any life force in these kind of eggs. But a real egg, a proper egg from a chicken in the farm in the village kind of thing, will have this proper shape and these two centers with this dynamic life force going on in between them. So holding it there, I do intend to just slightly change this shape to make it this more actual egg shape. Although this does look rather nice, it's a nice shape, but it's slightly incorrect for the purpose that I need. Remember, I need to use each and every part of the magician's jewel to create more energy. Everything should be gathering energy. The maximum, the places I put things, everything should be creating energy. So we've come to the video. Now, there's a lot more to say about the magician's jewel. I mean, a lot. But I've given you a little window on how I'm thinking, how I'm just, my rationale, why this shape, why this angle, why this and this and this. So I'm now going to play you, it's about 10 minutes or something like that. I'm not going to talk during the video. I think I'll let you just enjoy the video as a kind of meditation and just take yourself through the structure. You can remember some of my words and some of the things that I've said, or you can just like chill out and enjoy the ride. Remember that the structure is one part of this project. The structure is a device, a working mechanism. It's the body of the installation, and the participants are going to walk through this journey of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, of the process of existence, of the meaning of consciousness, chamber by chamber by chamber, with virtual reality, with augmented reality, with different, the binaural headphones going on in their ears, and they are going to experience this very deep knowledge of this great text, which I think to this day people really struggle to understand its meaning. So I want to give it a more real life meaning, to show that it's not just something that was written, back in the 8th century, and it was something that was made for the priests only of Tibet, and it's only useful for a certain category of people. This book is so pertinent to us today. It's so full of information as to how we can go beyond the very basic standards of our emotions and go into a higher level of quality of mind that can give us so much more peace and happiness and joy and bliss and all the good qualities of life that we all want to experience. All the knowledge is in there. So let's go to the video. We need to down the lights.
Teacher of the light. Dim the light.
Dim the lights. Because I think it'll be more cozy. It's more cozy. And really just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Just like a meditation, yeah? Just don't close your eyes, because then you won't see anything. But just enjoy it. We need to shut here we go.
Ovo jedno ili... Ovo iza sad, ovo gore sad.
Nosimo ovo.
Ma ne, sve ugasi, sve.
Can we get upstairs?
Yeah, just a second.
Yeah.
He's going to.
I ovo gore.
Yes, please. Is everybody ready?
Sure, yes, go ahead.
Okay?
Yep. So this is a piece-by-piece construction, so you can see how it works internally.
Actually, what is it, a mandala? Kind of mandala?
You're right to ask this because actually in the model you didn't see the park area, but it was always there, the park. The buses are just there for size, just so you can see how big it is. The base, just to show you each and every part of the base of the structure. About the mirrors, but it's another whole subject. You see the rocks and the flower beds. These are organized in octaves of harmonic resonance. We've got 6 on each side. So 6 go like this and 6 go like this, describing octaves of harmonic resonance. Again, key symbol. From 0 to infinity. That's a lot of frequencies. Harmonics go from 0 to infinity, so it's 0 to infinity.
So what is resonance then?
So we've got something here at the base of the structure which I haven't described, and it's a walkway around the mirror through the turnstiles. When people click through the turnstiles, that connects to the central part, making the cross in the center turn and striking the lowest crystal to create the piezoelectricity that we need at the base of the pyramid. One of the things. And it's in the design of the Hopi dance, the Hopi rain dance, 240 degrees, back 90, like this, which actually creates a standing columnar wave, and that's how they created the rain. Obviously here it's not actually going to do that because people are not going to be walking around in the same synchronous manner as the Hopi do their style, but it's an example, it's another symbol. See another turnstile. So this cross at the center will be moving. In the mirror, what you see in the mirror. I'm not going to describe the process of the Tibetan Book of the Dead here because it's very detailed and it needs a little bit of background. But one of the chambers is underneath the mirror. This is the chamber of the Bardo of Sleep where you discover about lucid dreaming. This is now, the decor is just there to fill in the space. It's not exactly going to be like that. Something you'll notice here, above you is a glass, but above that is a mirror. So one side is mirror, one side is glass. From under here you can see through the above into the inside the whole vortex of the spiral. And I hasten to add, this has not been run past a structural engineer yet, so it's really just a graphic design. Structurally, it has to be done properly, of course. Now we're entering onto the spiral here, which goes around 12 times to a 13th, which is the point at the apex. And there are petals, 12 petals, which are viewing platforms, so you can stand there, see to the outside and look into the inside. See, you're standing on a viewing platform looking down at the mirror and this glass box, this is a glass box at the center that houses the dodecahedron. That's where the principal virtual reality and augmented reality displays are going to take place. This is looking down from higher up. You see how these colored wings going to the outside of these. These are symbolic of the 5 lights. Again, that's another very large topic. Looking up to the mirror at the top. The crystals are probably not going to be this large, and some of them will be ground up and inside a carrier material like clay or adobe, because it would be completely impractical to have crystals so huge. But again, this is just a 3D design of the example of where we're heading. An elevator brings you back down from the center to the base, and then there's an elevator that also goes to the top. To bring you down, that is, because going up you will go on the spiral only. These spirals you see in the center, which are gold colored, are representing a part of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail in that now. There's the bardo of dying, there's the bardo of becoming. You're going to go through the visuals according to the Tibetan Book of the Dead of as the earth element dissolves, so you will see this visualization. As the element of water dissolves, you will see this visualization. This you will see in your virtual reality program. We're getting higher up now. We're almost reaching the dome area, where you can see underneath it's a mirror. That second point of magnitude is actually where the mirror is, a glass on top and a mirror underneath. The second point of magnitude is at that height. Down from the very top here, the last little turn on the spiral. So you see, this is glass. You can see down through the glass, whereas underneath it's the mirror. That's the elevator that takes you down to the center, where you'll experience the virtual reality program in the glass box center, housing the Dodecareco Sahasrara, which is where the second magnitude is. That's where the principal energy of this whole structure is held. Well, one of the principal elements. This is the sound chamber. It's not exactly how it's going to be, it's just a first rendition of how the platform could be. It could be that there's another interior to this meditation zone where 7 notes of an octave are going to be sounding. Om. Om, which is the first sound of all creation, according to the Hindu texts. Not only the Hindu, but offshoots of Hindu like Buddhism and other religions. See, symbol is there. It's one of my earlier pictures. Use that symbol. So for now we finish at the top. We need some light. Does anybody know where the light switch is?
Oh, the temple of the realms.
Yes, exactly. the conscious.
Why this Armenian old instrument? That's very interesting music.
Yes, Sufi.
Yeah, the Sufi sound from Armenia.
You're right, it's a temple of awareness. That's what the structure is, the working mechanism is the device, and the consciousness, the awareness, this process of existence according to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is awareness, is its life force.
Beautiful, I like it very much. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Maybe you built it in Eastern Serbia one day. Why not?
We are.
If Shiva says yes, in Ganesh, remove the obstacles, please.
You know, there will be a mother, what I'm calling the mothership. The mothership will be the big one, and there will be many, many that relay along the ley lines according to that mothership. So all it takes is a very good central, sacred energy spot, yeah? And then we can put it anywhere, and there are sacred energy spots
Thanks
everywhere.
to this lady who brought this nice Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Možemo malo posle pojedinačne izjave trebaju.